Joni, at the beginning of the year, you talked about the team being behind for a lot of things, offense, defense. So I'm wondering now, after you've played 8 games, look, do you feel like your team's still a little behind, or just where do you feel the team's at? Because this is a big stretch before
Yeah.
you get ready to go into conference.
Huge stretch. I think we are getting caught up. Are we where I want us to be? No, we're not. Right. And our schedule is just not one that allows us to have a lot of room for error. We're playing a bear of a schedule, one that is going to expose our weaknesses and highlight the things we do well, highlight the things we don't. And so, have we gotten better? Yes. Are we exactly where we need to be? No, we're not. So again, for us, it's the daily process of coming in, working on the things we need to work on, trying to get continuity, and our players that are available to practice are doing that every day.
And how do you manage that? Because like you said, these are very tough ball games.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to experiment, things like that, which is kind of unusual looking back at your first couple years. Maybe you had some of these games. You don't want to say that you're going to win, but how do you handle that? How do you manage that?
I think it's daily. We wake up every morning, we check our injury report and our status from Stacy, our trainer, and that's how we build our practice. And so we look at coming back from the Bahamas. We've had a nice stretch, right? So that's given some of our players a chance to rest. However, those players who have rested have not practiced. And so again, like where their bodies feel better, they've missed practice. And so we still didn't get a chance to work on flow with them and continuity with them. So right now we've got 5 players that and 3 of them don't practice at all, and 2 have very limited practices and rotations, but they're all available for games, and that's tough. And so we've got to figure it out every day the best way we can.
To that, how much does it help that you'll have your next 6 games here at home, just for things like that?
It's huge. We kept saying, man, it'll be nice when we can get back home and stay home until the Christmas break. Just the wear and tear of travel, in addition to everything else, takes on your body. I think sometimes people don't understand, like, when you're dealing with knees and ankles and all the things like travel, and then we're not taking 40-minute flights. So I think that plays a part in it, but it's just always comforting to play at home and knowing you're going to play in front of your fan base as well.
It's still a month away, but there's not many games before conference play starts.
Mm-hmm.
So how does the big one with Syracuse coming
Yeah.
in, how big is that for when you want to be prepared and ready for SEC play?
Well, again, Syracuse, Kansas State, both of those games are going to test us and get us ready for what we're going to face in conference. And so, again, for us, it is we're going to talk about Syracuse. They're very, very talented. Felicia does a wonderful job with all of her teams. They're going to come in here fired up. And we're going to put our players on the floor who are available. And what we're talking about now is, making sure that we don't have lapses in discipline and details. Because we are behind, and we do have areas where we just haven't been able to work on some things that we would have liked to have put in by now, whether that's offensively or defensively. So where we cannot have, slippage is in the discipline and the details of the things that we're doing, because the teams we're playing are going to make us pay every time that happens. And so that's what our focus has really been.
I know there's a bunch of things that you want to continue to see progress with, but going into Wednesday's game, is there anything in particular you're looking for?
We've got to stop turning the ball over. Our turnovers are just killing us. They're absolutely killing us. And so turning the ball over is one of the things we've really, really tried to put a emphasis on since we've been back from the Bahamas.
So Syracuse, give me a scouting report. And I look at stats, Joni. That's all I know. They don't shoot a lot of threes. It
Yeah.
looks like they don't have like a big rebounder. So what are some of the keys specifically about Syracuse?
This will be the biggest team we've played. They're huge at all the guard spots except for one. They're huge on the inside. So this will be the first team that we walk in and will be as big or bigger than us, because we're a pretty big team. So we've got to make sure we get to our spots, not let their length bother us. They're going to play man. They're going to play zone. They're aggressive in it. And while you don't see one individual player that rebounds it just great, they average 15 offensive rebounds a game. So as a collective unit, they crash the glass hard. They get to their spots. They know what their shots are. They push tempo. And they're really, really gritty. And so really, really good team coming in here Wednesday.
Looking at just the players that you will have available, how do you feel like you're going to prepare them just to be able to play, longer lengths of the game?
Well, some of that is not dictated by us. So we have players who are on minute restriction during games. And so some of that isn't even dictated by us, right? And the ones who are, it's knowing the right management and practice. Like, okay, this may be a 30-minute game for her. So what does the practice look like today and tomorrow so that she can play 30 minutes on Wednesday? And so some of it is save them in practice to have them for the games. But when you save them in practice, then there's no flow because they're not practicing with the young players or other people who need them on the floor. So it's a toss-up one way or the other.
Another thing you've emphasized this season is communication. What does that have to look like versus Syracuse?
It's going to have to be at a high level. We've got to figure out their changing defenses. They have a ton of players who can play multiple positions, and so we've got to make sure we're communicating who's guarding who every time they sub in, and if they're playing the wing now versus the post. And again, I think the biggest thing is making sure we understand and communicate what they're playing defensively so we can get the right stuff called.
So I'm assuming you don't want to share names, but you have like 5 total healthy players out of 11? Is that?
No, I mean, we have 11 players. Vanessa Seydoux not playing, so let's say we have 10 that are available to play. And out of that 10, there are 5 players, 3 who do not practice at all, and 2 who are very limited in their practice, right? So that's what we're dealing with daily. And having practice guys helps a ton, but last week we didn't have them because of the holiday, right? So that's what you're looking at. So while it's a great chance for them to rest and for us to put in some stuff and have some mental reps, you're just also very limited in what we can do because of where we are with our players who need to be available and need to rest.
Does it help that, this December, the schedule's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's pretty spread out, not many games. I guess with a team that's trying to get healthy, that helps. But I mean, do you like the schedule set up that way, or do you worry about not getting enough game reps in?
No, I would love to have another game after Christmas, the 19th, but to not have another game until January 2nd, that's a concern. Again, we've got practice guys who will come back and we'll bring them back here. We'll be practicing, but that's a long time to not play a game. And so it just, it's getting harder and harder to schedule non-conference games. And so that's why going to this tournament was great for us because it gave us a chance to play 3 teams. When you call and people, see the roster or think about the roster that you might have, it's become more challenging to schedule those games. And so this is where we landed.